dildo baggins. It's important to set the tone. Give me a cheer if you're queer. Fucking West End of Glasgow. Give me a cheer if you're not queer, but you once had a dream that made you go a little bit quiet for a few days. You couldn't see me after the show. So I am at Bright Club because I am an academic. Although as of 9 days ago, I was actually promoted to Associate Dean of Learning and Teaching. Thanks very much, thank you. I am indeed very impressive. But if you're wondering what that means in practice, what it means is that I am now senior enough that standing on this stage is what we refer to as a professionally questionable decision. But I just want to reassure everyone, particularly my colleagues in the room, that I have thought this through. I actually had a really good conversation with HR about it. And what we decided was that the best approach to this evening is that tonight I've chosen to share the stage with all of the fucks I currently give. I love my job and I'd really like to keep it. But aside from being the ass dean, I am also... my wife hates that one, and so do I. Anyway, aside from being Associate Dean, I am a lecturer in psychology. And one of the things I lecture on is personality and intelligence and attitudes. Now, unsurprisingly, there has been a huge amount of research done on what predicts attitudes towards the LGBTQ community. And a lot of it won't come as much of a shock. So, for example, being more religious, voting Tory, continuing to read Harry Potter. It would be funny if it wasn't written in blood. These are all predictive of less tolerant attitudes. But the one I find really, really interesting isn't any of that demographic identity stuff. It's that if you have a dislike of ambiguity, you're less likely to be accepting of gay people. So let me explain. Give me a cheer if you think that Jaffa cakes are a cake. Woo! Okay. Now, give me a cheer if you think that Jaffa cakes are a biscuit. Homophobes! The lot of you! Why must they choose? Why must they pick a category? Why can't they just be what they are? A tasty little snack. The reason that this dislike of ambiguity is linked to how you feel about gay people is because of something known as biological essentialism, which is the idea that there are essential parts of us that are biologically determined. But not just things like, your height, or your eye colour, or whether your small boat is categorised as a yacht or a coffin. But more fundamental things about who you are as a person. So if you subscribe to this belief in biological essentialism, it's also your likes and dislikes, what you're good at, how you will act, and how other people will act towards you that will be determined by the biological ticky box that you are born into. And you cannot move box, you cannot draw your own box, and you most certainly can't put the box on HRT and turn it into a circle. One of my best friends, her grandma was like a traditional Scottish grandma. What I think like knee-length tartan skirt, cardigan, sensible perm, right? But she was also a cool and groovy grandma. And what this combination resulted in is that she was absolutely fine with gay couples as long as she knew who the woman was. And of course, right, the thing is, this is not about sex. Doris was not trying to figure out who the power bottom was. That's the S. Okay? It was about this biological essentialism thing, right? Because if you believe in this, and you don't know someone's gender or their gender role, then you don't know how they will act and how you should act towards them, and that will make you uncomfortable. To put that more simply, if you don't know who the woman is, how do you know who to interrupt? But I think one of the biggest changes over the last kind of 10 years or so is that we now have much more fluid understandings of gender and sexuality. Or at least we do when it comes to sexuality. I think when it comes to gender, we are actually going backwards. And I just want to say, if there's anyone in the room tonight who is feeling guilty about having voted for what turned out to be the most anti-LGBT government we've had since Thatcher, I just want to say, don't worry. Because, you know, it starts with trans women, but it ends with all of us back in the kitchen never being able to vote again. That's not a joke, I'm just an angry fucking queer. Yes, back to the joke, sexuality. I came out all the way back in 2007, and we had a smaller set of labels to choose from back then. It was like going shopping in a Brexit supermarket. That one almost gets a delayed laugh because it went through customs. At the time, I went with lesbian. And it's an identity that means a great deal to me, but I've always known that it wasn't completely accurate. Like, for a very long time, if I wanted to describe myself with more nuance, I would have said that I'm a bisexual homo-romantic, which basically means I don't mind shagging men, I just never want to have to talk to them. But as I've gotten older, like, I don't even think I can go that far. Like, for me, you know, sometimes when you're out the house and you're really, really hungry, and what you want to do is go to like a nice fish restaurant that does this great oysters, but it turns out that the nearest one is 50 miles away and it's married with 2 kids anyway. And just as you're about to go home and, you know, make your own dinner, you realise that across the street there's a slightly skanky all-you-can-eat buffet, and they're literally just throwing sausages at you for free. That is my bisexuality. But the final thing I want to talk about is something in the research that I think kind of tends to capture popular attention, which is, why do people turn out to be gay? What's the explanation? Who's to blame? And one of the explanations is biological. So it says that it's all about how much testosterone you're exposed to in the womb. So what's fun, possibly not scientifically robust, but fuck it, look where we are, is that it's been suggested that you can measure how much testosterone you're exposed to in the womb through your fingers as an adult. So the theory goes that the longer your ring finger is compared to your index finger, the more testosterone you're exposed to. Dramatic pause while you all look at your hands. We get it? Okay. So what some studies found from the time, whatever, is that while straight cis men tend to have longer ring fingers than their index finger, more testosterone, and straight cis women tend to have fingers that are about the same length, in gay people this can flip. So gay men are more likely to have fingers that are about the same length, and lesbians are more likely to have that longer ring finger. So just to summarise, according to science, the best way of finding out if someone is queer is to finger them. As I said, the evidence isn't particularly that robust. When it does replicate, it mainly does so in white people. And of course, it completely excludes our trans and non-binary friends. And they have enough to fucking deal with at the moment. They are just trying to take a piss in peace. Leave them the fuck alone! It completely falls down when we think about kind of more fluid understandings of sexuality. The exact nuances of my sexual orientation are a complete mess, and this is reflected in my hands. So on the one hand, my fingers are about the same length, and on the other hand, I have that longer ring finger, which is why for safety, I always make sure to make sandwiches with my left and fist my wife with my right.